Hi folks, this is Joe into DI in the Shack today with an extreme close-up of the Elecraft KX2. Today we're going to talk about some Elecraft KX2 settings that help me hunt POTA and SOTA stations, and hopefully they'll help you. The majority of these settings covered in this video are related to receiving weak signals, which makes sense because when you're hunting POTA and SOTA stations, they're normally a QRP station, with a compromised antenna. So most of the time you're trying to dig out a weak signal. I'm going to break up this video into chapters so you can jump back to sections that you want to repeat, but it's worth it to listen to this video from start to finish, at least the first time, because I've grouped these settings together in a logical order so they build on one another, so it would make more sense if you listen to it from start to finish. In this video, I'll refer to tapping or short pressing buttons to change some of these settings, which means that if I say short press or tap, you're just pressing the button and instantly releasing it. If I refer to a long press, then you're pressing and holding the button down for about 1.5 or 2 seconds. And the KX2 will make a beeping sound when you do that, so it'll confirm what you're trying to attempt when you press the button. So with that, let's get started. Okay, so one of the first settings we're going to talk about is the preamp and attenuator, and we'll talk about them together because they're controlled by the same button. The purpose of the preamp is to amplify incoming signals, so it will boost a weak signal, but it also boosts the noise floor as well. And the purpose of the attenuator, surprisingly, is to attenuate incoming signals, which are really loud normally. So instead of blowing out your eardrums, you can enable the attenuator to cut those signals down. You normally use the preamp from the 20 meter band up to 10 meter band. You could use it anywhere. I mean, you could try it anywhere, but it usually works best between 20 and 10 meters on this radio because it only goes up to 10 meters. So let's switch it on. You turn it on by pressing this pre button in the lower left. First press turns on the attenuator, and you'll see up in the display area right here in the center, ATT will pop up somewhere. There it is. So the attenuator is enabled, cutting down signals. You can hear the noise floor dropped. Press it again, it enables the preamp. You can see the noise floor jumped up here on the S meter. There's actually a weak CW signal here. Okay, but unfortunately it boosts the noise floor with it, so it still makes it a little bit harder to make out, but we can attack that different ways. So, preamp. It's this button here in the lower left. You enable attenuator with first press. Second press enables preamp. Third press turns preamp off. And you just keep pressing until you get the setting you need. The next setting is the filter passband or bandwidth control. It's a setting that I change a lot under the different circumstances that you encounter. What you want to do to get to your filter setting is to tap the fill button here in the lower left. That allows you to adjust the filter, and you can rotate the AF gain knob to either widen or tighten this filter. And you see there's a graphic here that represents what you're doing to the filter. So this is setting it wider, and this is setting it tighter. If you want to get back to the default setting, you could just press the AF gain knob in, and it'll switch it back to its default setting, which is 400 hertz. Okay, so generally the tighter or narrower you set the filter, the more signal you're going to get to noise. Sometimes when you tighten up a filter, a weak station will appear out of nowhere. It's like magic. Fortunately, there's nothing here right now, but there was a weak station there a minute ago. It disappeared. You can also use this to fight QRM. Oh, there he is. Okay, you could use this to fight QRM as well if there's a neighboring station that's blowing out the signal you're trying to listen to. You could tighten your filter up and try to suppress the neighboring station. It helps for QRM as well. Okay, so the next setting that I've been playing with recently and seems to make a pretty big difference, and it's something that you don't normally think of adjusting, but it's the CW pitch. Most transceivers come with a factory CW pitch set between 600 and 800 hertz. Some of the Chinese radios, like the Xiegu radios, seem to have it a lot higher than that. Like I think when I got my G90, it was set to either 725 or 800, which is like really high in my opinion. And I found it fatiguing to listen to for an extended period of time, like over an hour. And I started to feel shell shock, like I was in a loud club or something like that. So I started adjusting it down between 600 and 500 hertz, and it seems to make a big difference in picking out signals here as well. So we got a station here. All right, so what you do is you go into the menu, and to access the menu in a KX2, you have to press and hold, long press the menu button in the lower right here. And once you do that, it puts you into the menu, and you can rotate the VFOB knob to get to the settings that you need. Once you find the setting you need, you can rotate the VFO knob to change the setting. So in this case, we're looking for pitch, which is right here. Okay, so right now it's set for 600 hertz. I normally keep the KX2 at 500 hertz. As you rotate the knob, it's going to emit a pitch at that frequency. It's going to emit a tone at that frequency, which is kind of loud and annoying, but I'm going to crank it down to 500, and you can hear the difference in the background noise here. Hang on a second. See, a lot of high-pitched noise just falls away when you do that. Okay, so again, to get back into the menu, press and hold the menu button. To get out, tap it, trip press, and you get back out. So that's the CW pitch. If you've adjusted your CW pitch, the next thing you're going to want to do is to adjust the center frequency to basically match your CW pitch. On the KX2, it's pretty easy to do that. Once you set the CW pitch in the menu, get out of the menu and you press the fill button in the lower left, just like you would when you want to adjust the filter bandwidth. But instead of doing that, you could rotate the key speed knob here, and this will adjust the bandwidth. So we were at 600 hertz. You can see it's centered at 600 hertz. Now we've adjusted it down to 500 hertz. So you're going to want to spin the knob to get down to 500 hertz. Or there's actually a shortcut. All you have to do is press the knob in, and it will automatically adjust it to your CW pitch. See, there we go. It's set to 500 hertz. And the reason why you do that is you want to be centered inside your filter passband, right? You don't want to be skewed one side or the other side of it. So you want to readjust that once you change your pitch. Okay, now we're going to talk about the audio peak filter. This is another setting that I frequently try when I'm trying to work out a weak signal. What it does is it enables a very narrow filter that peaks the audio in the center of the passband. So to enable it, you long press the filter button. You can see down here there's APF, AN beneath the button. So that's the long press function. You press and hold that, and that will enable the audio peak filter. Okay, once it's enabled, like I said, you're going to have a very tight filter. It works best when you tune your VFO to be right on top of that signal. And you can see that there's an extra digit here on the VFO that popped up when you enabled it, because it allows really fine tuning. So listen as we tune around and get right on top of that signal, how loud it gets. There he is. So that really helps when the signal is at your noise floor. To disable it, you're going to press and hold, long press the filter button again to disable it. Long press enables it. Remember, once you do that long press and you enable it, you're going to want to turn the VFO knob to get right on top of that signal. Okay, that's the audio peak filter. The next settings that we're going to talk about are the automatic gain control and the RF gain. It's another method for digging out weak signals, and it can be accomplished by changing two settings. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is turn the automatic gain control off. which will allow you to manually set the gain for the radio. Um, it usually seems to work best between bands 80 and 40, sometimes in 30. You could try it anywhere. It doesn't. There's no restriction. You just have to test with these settings. But it does help. What it does is uh, drops the noise floor away to some extent, and the signal will pop out sometimes like magic when it works. So what you need to do is step one, go into the menu and find the automatic gain control in alphabetical order. So it'll be AGC MD. Okay, right now it's switched off. You switch it to the off position. This is the on position normally. I had it switched off. All right, once you turn that off, you want to dig through the menu and find the RF gain setting. There it is, RF gain. So right now it's set for 0 dB. You're going to drop that and raise the volume, the AF gain at the same time. So raise the volume and drop RF gain. See how that signal sounds a little bit better with less noise. Wait for them to come back. See? So that makes a difference too. So yeah, that's something else you can try. All right, and to unwind those settings, you want to go back into the menu and turn your automatic gain control back on, which is AGCMD. Switch it back on. Okay, long press to get out of the menu. Okay, another setting you could try is the receive audio EQ. It's something that I don't really use that often, but it may work for you. The KX2 provides 8 bands of receive audio equalization that you can get to in the menu under RX EQ, which is right there, RX EQ. So each one of those dashes represents a column, a vertical bar graph of the 8 EQ bands. So starting from the left going to the right, it's 50 hertz, 100 hertz, 200 hertz, 400, 800, 1600, 2400, and 3200. So to get to each one of those, use the keypad function here. So each button has a number associated with it. So there's 0 is the knob, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So if you want to adjust one of those frequencies, what you're going to want to do is press the, let's see, if we're going to tweak the 50 hertz, we'll press 0, and that first column will start to blink. And then what you could do is either cut or boost that frequency range by 16 dB. So you rotate the VFO knob, and you see we're cutting it now. It goes down to 16 or up to 16. Okay, and that's how you would adjust it. So let's go to, let's see, next one, 100, cut that. Now, when you're using CW, you're not going to notice a huge difference unless you start messing with the frequencies that are inside your passband. So if we're at 500 hertz, you'll hear, if we're closer to that frequency, since our CW pitch is set for 500 hertz, the frequencies around that area are what will make a difference when you're using CW. Actually, it does make the signals clearer. I should test these settings a little bit more. What you can do if you want to reset everything to default is press and hold the VFOB knob, and it'll put everything back to its original setting. So it's worth experimenting. I mean, I think I should experiment with it a little bit more, but that's how you get to it. Okay, so that is receive audio equalization. The next setting we're going to talk about is RIT XIT. What we care about here is the transmit side of this. It requires a little bit of context to understand why you need it. So I'm just going to try to get into that, kind of quickly, but you'll have the context you need to understand it. So under normal circumstances, when you're having a CW QSO, you want to zero beat the other station that you're calling. So that means that your VFO frequency is set to the exact frequency that the other station is set to. So you're both transmitting and receiving on the same frequency. And that works well because both of you are transmitting inside each other's passbands. So you both will be heard well. Now for POTA and SOTA stations, they're often on the receiving end of a pileup. for a CW station that's on the receiving end of a pileup, if all the hunters or chasers are calling on their exact frequency, all those incoming signals merge into what sounds like one long continuous tone. And it's impossible to differentiate any of the call signs in that. So the POTA SOTA station will have to listen for the beginning of the pileup and try to pick out the first bits of a call sign. Or when the pileup starts to end, the station could pick out the few remaining bits of some slower calling stations, right? So that's what they have to resort to. So to combat that, POTA SOTA stations usually operate with the filters set wide in the hopes that smart hunters or chasers will um, call slightly off frequency. So during a pileup, if you call slightly off frequency and everybody's calling on frequency, the POTA SOTA station will hear that one continuous pitch of everybody on frequency, but they'll hear your call slightly at a different frequency. So they'll be able to pick you out. So, and it doesn't matter if you're above their frequency or below, just be off. How much off should you be? Well, you really don't know because the POTA or the SOTA station has their filter set to some value, and you're going to have to kind of guess what that is. So, for example, if a station has a filter set to 500 hertz, that means that they can hear 250 hertz above or below their center frequency. So sometimes 20 or 30 hertz off frequency is enough to work. Sometimes you need 50, 80, or 100, something like that. But you can't go crazy and be outside of their filter, but you don't want to be right on frequency. So you pick basically some random value between, on frequency and somewhere where you think the top or bottom of their filter is. Okay, so what does that have to do with RIT and XIT? So if you're trying to work a strong station, then you really don't need it. You just dial your VFO frequency slightly off center frequency of the POTA station or whatever, and it'll just work. The problem is if you're working a weak station and you have your filter set really tight because of QRM, or if it's a weak signal, or if you have, let's say, your audio peak filter on, then you have to be exactly on top of that signal to hear it. So if that's the case, you're not going to be able to dial your VFO off frequency to call them slightly off frequency. So there are two options to deal with that situation. The first is working split, and the second is using XIT or transmit incremental tuning. So I'll cover XIT here. Most transceivers have RIT, which is receive incremental tuning. Some manufacturers call it clarifier, but it's basically the same thing. So what it does is it allows you to dial your receive frequency slightly off of what your VFO frequency is set to. So if somebody's calling you and they're slightly off frequency, you can adjust that with the RIT. But that doesn't help us in this case. That's not what we want. We want the opposite of that. And the opposite of that is XIT, which is transmit incremental tuning. So with XIT, that allows you to dial your transmit frequency off, which is what you want. You want to leave your VFO set so you can hear the weak station, but you want to transmit at a slightly different frequency. So what you have to do is go into the menu and then search for XIT. There it is. Okay, and you enable it by turning the VFO knob. Once you turn it on, if we get out of the menu here, you'll see it says XIT right there. Okay, now to change your transmit frequency, you rotate the VFOB knob and you'll see this light comes on and it'll show you the frequency that you're dialing off of your center frequency. So in this case, I can dial 50 hertz up from my center frequency, which is 14060. Okay, and that's how you would do it. And then once you transmit, now you're going to be transmitting 50 hertz above this frequency, or you could rotate it down. And remember, it doesn't matter if you're higher or lower. Your pitch will sound higher or lower to the station you're calling, but it doesn't matter. It'll just be different from the pileup. Okay, and that's how you set it. And when you want to turn it off, you go back into the menu and you switch XIT off, and you're back to transmitting on frequency. Okay, so that's XIT. All right, the last setting I'm going to talk about isn't for receive or transmit. It's the programmable function keys or shortcut keys. And what the KX2 allows you to do is you could use these four buttons here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, to be a shortcut to a menu option. So instead of having to dig through the menu, you could just assign one of those menu options to one of these buttons here. So for instance, let's say you want to assign XIT to be able to switch XIT on or off your transmit incremental tuning. So what you do is you go into the menu, you find the setting that you want to associate with one of these shortcut buttons, Then you press and hold the PFN button, which is the also the ATU button, but you can see the print down here says PFN, which is what happens when you do long press. So you press and hold that, and it's going to say, okay, B1 through 4, what button you want to assign that to. So I'm going to assign it to button 1 for now. You press that, and it's set. Now, once you get out of the menu, when you want to go and change your XIT setting, all you have to do is long press the PFN button, and it's going to ask you what shortcut button you want to use, and we'll hit number 1. And it takes us right to XIT. See, it turned it on. You can go back into it. I believe it will toggle off. Yeah, it toggles it off. See, so that's a quick way to get to your deep menu settings, so you don't have to dig through the menu when you're trying to make contacts. So that's it, folks. I hope you found this information valuable. If it was useful to you, please like and subscribe. If you'd like to see more of this type of content, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you have any other tips or tricks that you'd like to share about the KX2 that would help your fellow hams, go ahead and leave those in the comments as well. With that, thanks everyone, and 73. So that's it, folks. Oh.